So once upon a time, I was moving back to California from Buffalo after earning my master's degree in exceptional education from SUNY Buffalo State. Go Bengals! I reached out to the vice principal of my old high school in Marin and asked, hey, are there any jobs opening up in the special education department because I'm moving back to the Bay Area this summer? She got back to me and said, yes, there is this one classroom opening up. It's called a counseling enriched classroom, and we're looking for one special education teacher. Are you interested? I said, yeah, I'd love to interview for the position. And my 4 years in that position taught me so much about how to teach executive function skills in the classroom. I want to share with you my top 3 tips today. Ready to learn more? As an adult with ADHD, one of my superpowers is my ability to dive headfirst into anything that captures my attention, also known as hyperfocus. I have a bias towards action rather than planning, and this has allowed me to start multiple successful businesses. But all my competing priorities can sometimes cause a bit of overwhelm when I'm also juggling raising my 2 children, being married, owning a home, staying healthy, and so on and so forth. Now, back to the job. This job was no ordinary position. For example, when I was hired for this position, there was nothing. No classroom materials, no curriculum. Everything had to be designed from scratch. I remember walking through the empty parking lot of the school and standing with the principal discussing where the portable for the classroom might go. My executive function skills continued to get a good workout in the months leading up to the classroom opening when I picked out the furniture, classroom supplies, designed the curriculum, and all the other small features that go into planning a classroom. On top of that, all the students in my classroom were going to be different ages between 9th grade and 12th grade with different individualized education plans and different categories of disability, meaning they all had different needs that needed to be accommodated for. Plus, they were going to be in my classroom for the whole day, so I needed to have a clear plan of action for what these students were going to be doing throughout the day. Now, of course, my 1 year teaching in the Buffalo public school system as a special ed teacher, my training in Teach for America as well as City Year, and my education had prepared me to be an effective teacher. But at the same time, nothing can truly prepare you for your experience leading a classroom. Real quick, if you're a teacher watching this video, what's been the most challenging teaching experience of your career? Drop it in the comments below, I'd love to know. Go ahead, I'm waiting. Seriously, do it! What are you waiting for? Do it! Now, as the year rolled out and the students entered my classroom, I started to wrap my head around the challenge I was facing. The problem of practice became this. How do I accommodate for the unique learning needs of each of my students with disabilities ranging from traumatic brain injury, autism, ADHD, specific learning disability, and more, while also ensuring that each of them make progress towards graduation every day they're in my classroom? Does this type of challenge sound familiar to you? Now, before I was a teacher, I worked many jobs in the service industry, including work as a waiter, barista, and more. I've always enjoyed helping people feel supported and served. So at first I thought, okay, I'll come up with a unique lesson plan for every one of my students every day so that they can have their individualized needs met. But after a few months of staying in the classroom every day until 8 a.m. or 9 p.m., trying to create individualized lesson plans for each of my students, I started to feel burned out, overwhelmed, and exhausted. And this translated into less patience for my students, which made me a less effective teacher. My administration noticed this and actually had a conversation with me about how they were planning on not bringing me back the next year if I couldn't figure things out. And as someone who's used to solving every problem that's put in front of me, I was at a loss for what to do in this moment. How was I going to help each of my students make progress towards graduation while also giving them individualized attention and instruction every day per the needs of their individualized education plan? I had to figure out a solution quick or I was going to lose my job. And the secret and key turned out to be teaching executive function skills. Key number 1, everybody needs a job. One of the things my principal said to me during one of our meetings was that culture beats lesson planning every day of the week. I realized that in order to create a culture of self-directed learning in my classroom, I had to find ways to help everyone motivate themselves rather than feeling like I had to motivate everyone every day. I also read Henry and Rosemary Wong's The First Days of School, How to Be an Effective Teacher. One of the things he said in the book that resonated with me was that every student needs to have a daily objective so they feel exhausted at the end of the day, whereas you should feel energized because all your students made progress. To implement this in my classroom, on the whiteboard, I put up a job chart. So every student had their name on the wall, and then they had their daily job, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And they had to check it off when they did it first thing in the morning. So when they walked in, they had a self-directed process and knew what to do, which gave them a great boost to start their day. By giving them executive authority over how to start the day, they always had a better day because they had a quick win at the beginning. Additionally, by having their behaviors monitored on a whiteboard that they could see, They started to notice when they did their job and when they didn't, and now they were self-monitoring their behavior to have a better day each day. Solution number 2 is to teach students how to self-monitor their progress. The next thing I did was I zoned in on the overarching goal of the classroom experience, which was to move towards graduation. I learned how to read transcripts and set up a spreadsheet where students could see where they were at in their progress towards graduation in a visual manner. By seeing exactly where they were on the road to graduation, as well as what exact steps they needed to take in order to finish high school, they were more motivated because they could see there was an end in sight. I had also been given access to an online learning program where they could take all their classes within the classroom throughout the day. And within this online learning program, they could see that every class had a certain number of steps they needed to complete to finish that class. So what we did was we identified the total number of steps they needed to complete the class. Then we took the number of days remaining in the semester and we divided the total number of steps by the number of days remaining in the semester. So for example, if there was 100 steps and they had 25 days remaining in the semester, they would need to do 4 steps a day in order to make adequate progress towards finishing it by the end of the semester. This concrete amount of daily steps they needed to take in each of their classes gave them a clear direction each day that was chunked out enough where it felt manageable rather than overwhelming. And what I did was I had them put their number of daily steps on the whiteboard so they could see, okay, I've only got to get 4 done in English and 6 done in math today. And if I do that, I've met my goal for the day and I'm making adequate progress towards graduation. This gave them an incredible sense of purpose and control on a daily basis, that if they only met these small goals on a continuing and consistent basis, that they would graduate. Additionally, I also set up classroom-wide rewards. When everybody in the class met their daily step goal, we would break early for game time, which people looked forward to and then motivated each other to reach. The last tip I have for you is the power of the family team meeting or collective efficacy. So at times, there were students who were still struggling to buy into the program we had created in the classroom. So one of the amazing things our school district did to support us was working with an outside agency who did family team meetings and provided wraparound services. So this agency would come in and they would facilitate a monthly meeting called the family team meeting. And in this meeting, we would have a very simple agenda. And the agenda went like this: what's going well, what needs to change, who does what by when. Now, by having this meeting each month, students started to identify what was going well. They would get positive feedback. This would lower the affective filter and make them more bought into this feedback process. Then everyone would come around and agree on what needs to change. And we would ask the student, hey, the goal is that you show up 4 out of 5 days every week. Does this feel reasonable to you? And in this case, instead of the parents or teachers being the ones who decided what the student was going to do, we were all working together, using our voices, and especially focusing on the student to make sure they were bought into this process. And that type of attention had a life-changing impact on students who were disengaged. This taught me the power of helping students take an executive role in determining what kind of goals they were working on in their classroom or educational experience. Additionally, there's some incredible research out there from the book Visible Learning by John Hattie that indicates collective teacher efficacy, or everybody being on the same page about how to support a student, is one of the most impactful factors on student achievement. So these are some of the core concepts that led to incredible results in my classroom. I had one student give me a card at the end of the semester and tell me that they had been to 6 different high schools and they were finally graduating. This meant the world to me, but this was not the exception, but actually the rule in this classroom. So many students who had been in residential treatment or absent from school for long periods of time found success and were able to graduate in this classroom. Additionally, for the school district, it was an incredible way to save money because they stopped paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to residential treatment programs and were able to educate their students within the school district. After 4 years, I left this classroom to move on to my work as a professional executive function coach. But I left this classroom knowing that if students have a job, a goal, a way to self-monitor themselves, and a community to support them through the process, that any goal is possible if they put their minds to it and have a team around them. Fostering executive function skills in the classroom is less about specific strategies that you can implement and more about setting up expectations, creating clear boundaries, providing students with a way to monitor themselves, and holding them accountable through a team approach. Now, my mission is to help you as a parent or educator empower your student with better executive function skills because research tells us it's the key to their future. And I want to know, was this video helpful to you? Why or why not? Please share it in the comments below. It means a lot to me. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and get notifications by clicking on that little bell. And I'll see you in the next video.